Hello and welcome to Bitsbox World, Builds Made Easy. It's great to have you here. I'm Tom and I've been having a bit of a building session, building some high elves, getting ready for the old world coming back, releasing high elves, and it's given me a whole load of empty sprues. One of the things I've been doing is melting them down with a bit of acetone to make Sprue Goo. And then I bought some moulds to see if I could use my Sprue Goo to make any buildings or anything like that. So I've got these moulds here from Green Stuff World, and they're just sort of fantasy type moulds, but I think that they would fit really well into Warhammer the Old World or Age of Sigmar or D&D, something like that. And they could make a manor house or a church building, or just something quite destroyed for your battlefield, your wargaming battlefield. And if you push them into the moulds well, if you push them in right, they actually come out quite well. I was thinking that they were going to come out really bumpy and bobbly and with lots of air bubbles, and there are a few air bubbles, but I'm going for like a derelict war-torn type effect anyway, so I think that they would look really good anyway with those bobbles. And because they're made out of sprue, they're basically plastic. So these can be put together just with a bit of plastic glue. So I've got this one here, and I'm going to glue them together and start making a building. What I wanted to do was I wanted to make a 2-tier building to start off with. So this one is going to be like a derelict church building, I guess, something like that. And I've put a couple of floors on it because I do want models to be able to stand on the second floor. Using the plastic glue, then you can start putting things together. And these molds from Green Stuff World, I really quite like them, but what I've had to do with the Sprue Goo off video is make loads and loads and loads of molds, and these things take about 18 hours 24 hours to dry. So if you've just got one mold going at a time, it takes a long time to actually mold these and get them ready, but they do come out quite well. I think they look pretty good. Obviously not perfect, but it depends on what you're going to do with your sprues anyway. I was just going to launch them in the bin, so it's a bit of recycling, upcycling, which I like. And also, I'm getting free buildings, essentially. Obviously, I've bought the models. That's what everyone's going to argue. You've bought the models, but I had the sprues. They were just going to go in the rubbish. So making them into a building seems like a win-win for me. And also, yeah, a freebie. So there we go. There's my first building. Obviously wanted a bit of damage to it as well. So I've damaged the roof and made a space for me to be able to place models on that second level. But I want to make a few more incisions into the bottom half as well, just so if I've got troops hiding out in the building, they'll be able to see out and fire out from every single angle. So I'm going to break up some of these walls, and where the mould hasn't entirely gone perfectly, I'm going to cut that out and just make a gap in the wall, and then also a little window slot as well, following the brick line on this side. And do let me know in the comments below what you do with your sprues when you have them left over. Are you making them into anything interesting at all? I used to make them into fences and frames for my scenery and didn't melt them down, but now I'm using Sprue Goo and molds. It's really opened up another dimension to my scenery building, and I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying how these have come out, really wanting to get some paint on them and make them look a bit more alive, and very much excited for that. Great thing though with your Sprue Goo, you've recycled it once before by melting down your sprues, and any of the molds that don't end up working as well as you hoped, you can just stick back in, melt them down, and then you've got your goo again. Interestingly, what I have found is that if you do melt down pre-existing molds that you've made, the goo becomes a little bit thinner and a bit more runny, I guess, which also helps with the molding process, because you can actually get a really good mold, a better mold in some instances, with recycled bits. Anyway, let's crack on with this then. So I've sprayed it black, and I'm going to be using some Citadel paints, Dawnstone here as the first layer for all of the sort of stonework, and making it look like it's a old stone built church that you would see in sort of medieval times, I guess, for my fantasy themed build here. And yeah, really liking how it comes out initially, using two different greys though. I have got Administratum grey as well, which I'm going to use for a bit of highlighting, and that's been done. Also going to use a bit of Corax white as well, but I'm only using this on the roof tiles, because what I want to do with the roof tiles is actually do a bit of a dipping ink effect on them as well, or you could use contrast paints, I guess, but I'm going to use a dipping ink from Green Stuff World. I wanted the tiles to look that sort of greeny bluey colour that you see on old buildings that maybe had copper on them, or I don't know, when it goes a bit rusty and it goes all that really nice green colour. And then I went for it over like a red tile or something similar to that, and I do quite like it. Let me know your thoughts on it though. And I do I do have a realization that maybe all the tiles wouldn't be copper and have gone that greeny colour, but there we go, I went with it. It's a fantasy world, and I'm making my own fantasy building, so why not? I really do like this colour as well. Whilst I'm finishing painting up those tiles then, I'm also going to have a go using the Sprue Goo to make my own miniatures. I've had this in my mind for a little while, so look out for that video. And yeah, I've wanted to have a go to see if you can actually craft anything from the goo. People have said that it works in a similar way to green stuff, but we'll see. I'll let you know. So using a bit of Thumbia Brown as well, I'm just going to dirty this build up, because it's not going to be a pristine stone building. It's a bit weather worn and war worn as well from all the battles that it's endured over the years, and it's become a bit of a ruin, but looking quite good. Warboss Green, I think, is a really nice colour for just doing a bit of moulding of the building. Would I call it moulding? I don't know, you decide. But it comes up this really nice green, which I think has a really good colour in contrast to the grey. And if you just scrape it on, so it gives these sort of watermarky dashes down, and yeah, I really like it. Gonna do it at the bottom as well, like it's rising up from the ground level, and this is looking pretty decent. I'm really happy with how it looks and how it's come out, but I thought one other thing that I could do on it is a bit of foliage. I'm not putting it on a base, by the way, so a lot of this foliage is going to have to sit into the actual building itself, and the reason for that is I want it to be scatter terrain on my battlefield. But I've got a few different bits of foliage. These flowers here, they've got an adhesive bottom and you can stick them on, but anything else I'm just going to use a bit of super glue, because that obviously dries quicker than if I was using PVA glue. This fabric here I got off Temu, and it's really quite awesome because you get tons of it. It's really long and it makes really good looking creeping vines. And then I've got other bits and bobs, like this bit of plastic here is just from a Christmas wreath that I recycled, and just got some of the plastic, what would you call it, plastic plants I guess, from it as well, using a bit of super glue as well, clipping these down so they're a good size. They also look really quite awesome. And there we are, my buildings are complete. Some vines creeping up on the building there, flowers growing out of any crevice that they've managed to get a foothold in, and then I've even stuck a tree just a small one growing up out of there, and I fancied just sticking a rope on there as well, so it looked like some travellers have been there, or people have been there to make this a bit of a camp, so they've got a rope to climb up onto the top. Really quite like this one, and looking forward to using it in a battle. So I'll have to crack my high elves out, I think, and see if they could fight some orcs and goblins in the old worlds. And all of this is made, as I say, from sprues. Sprues that were just going to go in the bin. All of that effort of casting them and moulding them and recasting them and moulding them, I think it's worth it, personally. And it's just another way to be creative with the hobby, and yeah, love how they've turned out. And part of me thinks those bluish green tiles make the builds, but there we go. It'll be great to know what your thoughts are on this build. Give me a comment below, like this video if you liked it, and think about subscribing if you haven't yet. It'll be awesome to have you as part of the community. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching Bitsbox World, builds made easy.